Hello and welcome to Camnet Television Main News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo to present. And our top stories in the news tonight. LUSAKA'S KAMWALA South flood victims plead with DMMU for accommodation resources. CHILENJE Ward 8 Councillor REUBEN MWENYA calls for dismissal of some council workers. Police arrest 2 people in connection with the theft of ZESCO power cables. In international news, Ethiopian authorities impose restrictions on nightlife in AMHARA over protests. And in sports news, Copper Queens International Friendly favors South Korea by 5-0.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Hello again, another news in detail. Representatives of over 60 houses in Quarry area of LUSAKA'S KAMWALA South have appealed for help from the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, DMMU, after they were left out of a recent exercise where flood victims within the same community were assisted with 6,000 kwacha each to rent alternative houses for 3 months. Speaking to Camnet News, the residents have also called for permanent measures to the flooding situation before the next rainy season, be it demolition of their houses and compensation by the state if the construction of drainages is not possible. A check by Camnet News found some residents of the said area using metallic dishes as boats to get across the water. More in this report.
One would think that this is one of the many rivers that Zambia is blessed with, but this is KAMWALA South community in Lusaka at a place commonly known as Quarry area, where residents have been forced to be innovative as one way of handling the flooding problem. Community members here say the water is as a result of heavy rain experienced in the country a few weeks ago, but has failed to sink to the ground until now. While the entire community has been negatively impacted, affecting over 60 houses, the affected community members allege that they were left out of a program by the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, DMMU, where flood victims from the same community were assisted with 6,000 kwacha rent money to help them find alternative houses to live in for at least 3 months.
Amanje tikatipe kulisiba kufons aratiuzo dzapasandira dzakusakira matenti ukuke namanje tikalikwembekeza manzi ya dota ya mixed na masuwa so na manje wa mosquito siwo kama yavutika batandize baba siri mushe situation yoipa not muntu anami
tapempa tipempa tilina bana bavutika vilonda bana kumendo sibankala mushe matenda bana vifuwa sivisila twapapata tipempa kuri government banabwera kabiri konse balemba kuti bazati chitako help aya manzi siyachoka futi siyaenda kuri konse yankala chape pamozi na pamozi yalibe koenda kuribe kwa kuti bazayalindirira stizi badeya zakayuma.
The affected residents have called for solutions ahead of the next rain season, noting that a number of deaths were recorded due to the same flooding problem in the community.
As you can see, people are struggling, and the problem which is there, it's water. Even if they can do the drainage system, I don't know either it's to break the houses and compensate them. I don't know the government, the way they will help them. Otherwise, people, they're in trouble.
And I think if there's going to be any serious change, I think immediately after the rain seasons, the government or through the area member of parliament and the local councillors, they should quickly start mobilize resources to put up drainages. Because you see this issue, like here in KAMWALA South and other parts of Lusaka, maybe you might have noticed that they had started digging up the drainages, and most of these drainages have left some of these roads in worse condition than they were before the rain season.
They are now calling for urgent short-term measures to the problem, stating that many of them have halted their business ventures as they are too afraid to leave their children alone in such circumstances. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
United Party for National Development, UPND CHILENJE Ward 8 Councillor REUBEN MWENYA has called for an immediate dismissal of some council workers. In an interview, Mr. MWENYA has accused some council workers of exhibiting ignorance in working, adding that they wait to be told what to do. He reiterates that some workers do not want to perform their duties, such as collecting garbage in his ward. Meanwhile, some residents in the area have appealed to Lusaka City Council to ensure they meet their obligations of keeping the city clean by collecting garbage. More in this report.
Some residents of Lusaka's CHILENJE Ward 8 have complained over the poor work culture by some council workers. The residents who have raised the concern about sanitation wonders why the Lusaka City Council is failing to collect garbage in certain areas, thereby leaving some roads impassable.
The sanitation is not okay because the way it's looking right now, it's bad. It's different before the way it was last time. Because you can even see it's almost going to the road, even failing to pass, so it's very bad. So at least if they can check out on this.
This place is very dirty in terms of cleanliness. I feel like the council is not doing their job to make sure that the place is supposed to be the way it's supposed to be. It's very dirty in terms of sanitation. I wish if they can do something about this place.
The residents in the area have since appealed to the Lusaka City Council to ensure they meet their obligation of keeping the city clean all time by collecting garbage.
Our way to handle garbage is looking at, if you look around this area, there are a lot of people around. So it has to be the duty of the council to make sure that the garbage is cleared and the road is clear. So they should find a way to implement how effective they can be operating in this area so that sanitation is assured and our citizens will be glad as well.
Meanwhile, CHILENJE Ward 8 Councillor REUBEN MWENYA says there is a need to dismiss some council workers for failure to perform their duty. Mr. MWENYA has accused some workers of exhibiting arrogance in working, adding that they wait to be told what to do.
We love to advocate for the removal of a lot of officers at Lusaka City Council who are really crippling down the governance of our country or our government. You get my point? There is no way we can have garbage piled at an area for 2 months. My graveyard, that's a graveyard in my area, has not been slashed. It is now 3 months. I can't be singing and begging people to do their work. No. These bars, they're making noise in people's yards. Homes have been turned into bars. Who is going to do that? I can do it myself if I want. but I don't want to be cited for abusing my authority. I have a limit where I end in my operations, and other people who should do that must do it.
Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
A 76-year-old woman of Lusaka's SOS has died after a dumper truck bucket hit her while she was collecting garbage at Chingwere dump site area in Lusaka. Police deputy spokesperson Danny Mwale says the deceased, who was identified as Tikulileni Tembo, was among other garbage collectors who rushed to the truck while the dumper truck driver was in the process of dumping garbage. Mr. Mwale says in the process the bucket hit her, resulting in her sustaining fatal injuries, and that she was rushed to Material Level 1 Hospital, where she was pronounced dead upon arrival. He says the truck driver, identified as Yotam Banda, aged 23, of Garden Park, reported the incident to police, which occurred on April 10, 2023, at around 16 hours. The body of the deceased is in the University Teaching Hospital mortuary, awaiting postmortem and burial, while police have opened an inquiry file into the matter. ZESCO Limited says it has recovered a total of 333 kilograms of copper material from 2 suspects involved in the theft of the power utility cables. Addressing the media Tuesday, ZESCO Limited Senior Corporate Affairs Manager Karisto Chitamfia says the 2 suspects were apprehended during the 4-day holiday following an operation conducted by a combined team of Zambia Police and ZESCO Security. Mr. Chitamfia says ZESCO has been affected by acts of vandalism and lost close to 7 million kwacha in the first quarter of 2023. Meanwhile, the power utility company has reminded members of the public of its 30-day amnesty to all those that have illegal electricity connections to report to the power utility company or face prosecution. More in this report.
Vandalism to public property in Zambia has become endemic to a point where government institutions are forced to spend huge sums of money on repairs. Such incidents are said to occur mostly in densely populated areas, with individuals riding on a common narrative, never bomber, and they sell under the pretense of making a living. This counterproductivity behavior is what has led to the power utility ZESCO Limited to have serious challenges in providing quality service to citizens. The most vandalized items are overhead and underground cables, as well as ground and pole-mounted transformers. Not so long ago, a man was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment by the Lusaka Magistrate Court after he was caught stealing ZESCO cables. April 11, 2023, ZESCO Limited says it has recovered a total of 3.223 kgs of copper material from 2 suspects. The 2 culprits are said to have been arrested by a combined team of Zambia Police and ZESCO Security.
On Saturday, 8th of April, our security officers had an operation, a joint operation with the Zambia Police, where they were following up information from members of the public that there were people that were receiving and buying cables and materials that looked like ZESCO materials. So when our people made a follow-up, they found a truck full of these materials that are here, and 2 suspects who were apprehended. And when their homes were searched, more materials were recovered, and a total of 3.233 kgs of these copper materials were recovered from those 2 individuals.
It is regrettable that theft of ZESCO installations have continued despite the law prescribing a maximum sentence against those found wanting.
Vandalism now in Lusaka, or the whole country, is so rampant. We are here to show you what materials have been recovered, copper materials, because the vandals have been stealing our cables just to remove the copper wire in it. I'll be able to show you that my colleague, when he was speaking to you, he said these were ZESCO-like materials. But I want to tell you that the materials here, 99% of it is ZESCO materials.
Meanwhile, the power utility has reminded members of the public of its 30-day amnesty to all those that have illegal electricity connections to report to the power utility or face prosecution.
and then we will negotiate with you. You will not be prosecuted if you come within this window. After the window, the April window is gone, you are on your own, and we will treat you just like any other suspect. So, if I were you, I would be smart enough and take advantage of this window, amnesty window, to engage with us so that we negotiate and so that we legalize your power supply.
Given this scenario, vandalism of ZESCO property must be kept urgently to reduce cost on repairs and replacement of damaged equipment. It is also the responsibility of the local leadership in various communities, especially in densely populated areas, to sensitize young people about the danger of vandalizing ZESCO installations. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Copperbelt Province Minister Elisha Matambo says the province has received a total of 5,000 bags of meal from the Zambia National Service ZNS to be distributed to selected places on the Copperbelt, among them Ndola, Chingola and Mufulira. Addressing the media Tuesday morning, the minister states that an agreement has been arrived at with ZNS for bags of meal to be offloaded to the province on a weekly basis as one way of trying to solve the scarcity of the commodity on the market, which has also resulted in high pricing. The minister adds that confiscated meal from smugglers will also be offloaded to the market in about 1 week's time after all legal processes are concluded. He has further urged community members to be alert and notify authorities on any suspected cases of smuggling.
And then last week also we announced that His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema through ZNS started sending meal to the Copperbelt to try and supplement the meal which millers are producing in the Copperbelt. And we did the launch, I think, last week when they sent us 3,800 bags of meal. And we sent that meal to Kitwe and the Kalush. And I promised the people of Copperbelt that His Excellency via ZNS will be sending meal every week. So I want to announce that today we have again received 5,000 bags of meal from ZNS. And this will be distributed to Ndola. I think you will have 2 trucks which will go around Ndola Township. They will go to Ndola Central Constituency in Chiprogosu. They will go to Twapia. They will go to Chifugu. And they will also go to Banamkubwa and Kabushi. We are also going to send another truck in Chingola to try and cushion the situation of many in Chingola. The other truck will go to Mufulira. So I think this shows how much His Excellency loves the people of Copperbelt. So we want to say we are very grateful to His Excellency for yet again sending a good number of bags to come and alleviate the city and supplement what the millers on the Copperbelt are producing.
Forum for Democracy and Development, FDD leader Edith Nawakwe has threatened to report Republican President Hakainde Hichilema to the police for lying to the people of Zambia. Speaking when she featured on National Matters on Camnet TV Monday, Ms. Nawakwe charges that the head of state lied to the electorate in order to obtain a vote. She has cited lack of clear policy direction on a number of important issues affecting citizens, such as the high cost of living, among other things. Meanwhile, the opposition leader has asked President Hichilema to allow her rule the country for 3 months as a way of demonstrating how a country should be run.
We should be specific and say Hakainde obtained goods by false pretense. He said that minimum will be 50 kwacha, it's now 462 kwacha. He said fuel will be cheap, now it's 30 kwacha. He said the electricity, he said you'll be giving 12 bags of fertilizer. He gave out 2 bags to a group of 30 people.
Okay, let's take it to that.
Those that have been there, Tell us whoever lied to get into power. Tell us. This one is the most famous one.
Okay,
he has obtained goods by false pretense. We should report him to the police because it's a criminal offense to obtain goods by false pretense. Votes are goods. Now we have the toll gates. What does Hakainde do? He takes the toll gates and gives them to Diego Cassidy. That's government money which I need to open up rural areas. Anyway, by nature, it depends on which school you went to. And all of us can say we have degrees. Bambi barakopelana paunza. Bambi bachita multiple choice. So once baratupela my degrees, whether now pass and pass, as long as that you even now pass. But how you passed, they don't ask. So you can say I'm an economist or a businessman, but I mean, show us your prowessness. Show us you're a businessman. Show us your acumen.
The opposition Patriotic Front PF says the party has taken an interest in a communique that was released after the Democratic Summit, which was held on the 29th and 30th of March 2023, stating that Article 8 of the said communique spoke to LGBTQ+ rights. Speaking to Camnet News, Party Deputy Media Director Edwin Lifwekelo says the communique has concerned the party as it was handed out to all participating countries at the summit, Zambia included, and has called on the church to take an interest in the matter. Meanwhile, United Party for National Development, UPND media consultant Mark Simoe says the country has nothing to worry about as a referendum would need to be held to pass such laws, labeling the sentiments from the opposition party as political propaganda. More in this report.
Events leading up to the Democratic Summit that was held on 29th and 30th March 2023, where Zambia was co-hosting the summit alongside the United States of America, were characterized by opposition from some political parties like the Patriotic Front PF and the Economic and Equity Party opposing the summit, and the scheduled visit of the United States of America Vice President Kamala Harris, accusing the United States of America of advocating for LGBTQ+ rights. With both the Democratic Summit and the visit of the USA Vice President gone, the ruling United Party for National Development UPND have been indicating that the opposition have been put to shame as none of what they anticipated had been discussed. PF Deputy Media Director Edwin Ifekelo, however, says the party is currently studying a communique which was handed out to all participating countries at the end of the summit assembled by the USA, stating that Article 8 under the communique talks about human rights, among them LGBTQ+ rights.
You saw what happened in terms of the communique that was established at the end of that Democratic Summit. And one of the issues now that the church has to grasp about is the issue of Article 8 under that communique, which is talking about sexual orientation. Because generally what Zambia has done is to sign to LGBT, putting it into law, that we have no issues, we do not object to the issues of LGBT, because that's basically what we have done. That communique with an American emblem on top, if you had an opportunity to see it, was just drafted by the Americans themselves. And they just shoved it on the summit, the membership of the summit, those who attend the summit, including the government of UPND, and told them these are the resolutions.
UPND media consultant Maximue has, however, described the sentiments as political propaganda, noting that passing such laws would require the holding of a referendum.
The idea of the PF raising those things can be seen as far back as 2016. Themselves, when they made a proposal to amend the Bill of Rights, they included a clause on protecting minority rights. It is on that basis, among other reasons, that we collapsed that Bill of Rights amendment. Because we are questioning them. Who are these minority people? This will give rise or an opportunity for proponents of gay rights to push in their bid. And based on that, among other issues, we collapsed the referendum. And so, it is just mere politics. It gives no insight on exactly what has been done. Then when it comes to international conventions like the summit, The only way that resolutions of the international conventions can be enforced in Zambia is when they have been domesticated. By domestication, we mean you must create subsidiary legislation, a legal framework.
He has reaffirmed the stance of the party, stating that they adhere to Christian values. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The African Chamber of Trade and Commerce has called for enhanced trade in the cotton industry among African countries to ensure that cotton does not leave Africa in a raw form. Speaking at a media interaction in Lusaka Tuesday, Chamber Executive Chair Mary Anchang says Africa has continued to lose huge sums of resources through the export of raw cotton material when the continent has the capacity to add value to the product. Mrs. Anchang says Zambia has been selected to be a lead producer of cotton, which will be exported to Cameroon where it will be processed. She says through the initiative, more than 6,000 jobs will be created for young people across the African continent. More in this report.
Cotton production in Zambia has over the past few years been dropping owing to a number of factors, among them the quality of seed, quality of input, and the pricing of the commodity on the Zambian market. Additionally, Zambia has for many years been exporting raw cotton material to outside of the African continent, which has been enabling the country lose huge sums of resources. To that effect, the African Chamber of Trade and Commerce says it is working to ensure that Africa stops the export of raw cotton material to other continents to ensure that the African continent benefits from cotton production.
Trying to see how we get access to all these industrial machines. We were told that it's very expensive, Africans cannot afford. And we're like, if Africans cannot afford it, but the Africans farm, can we continue to transport and export our cotton that is transformed outside the continent and sent back to us as second-hand clothes, whereas we could originally actually have access to the cotton locally, produce new things, and actually sell to other people? What does it take to do that? We need capital. So, through the FICOTA project, we decided to bring in partners.
The Chamber Executive Chair also says Zambia has been selected to be a lead producer of cotton, which will be sent to Morocco for processing so that the finished product can benefit the African continent.
That is made in Cameroon, that's produced in Cameroon. It's bought by the Germans, it's bought by the Chinese, bought by everybody. We couldn't compete. So because we couldn't compete, we decided to create our own farms and own our cotton. We shall produce cotton in Zambia. We shall ship it to Kribi, and we shall have the manufacturing plant to transport, to transform. Why is it? And some people ask, why would you produce cotton in Zambia to go and transform in Kribi? And we ask, for how many decades have we been producing cotton and sending it to the USA, to Vietnam, to China, to Bangladesh, to Switzerland, to London? How about we producing cotton and selling it within the continent?
Meanwhile, Cotton Board of Zambia says it is concerned with a reduction in cotton production and is optimistic that with the African Chamber of Trade and Commerce coming on board, cotton production in Zambia will go up.
Been a reduction in production over the last 10 years. We used to bring in about $89 million in forex. The reduction in production is alluded to a few facts that surround cotton production. One of them is seed, the quality of seed, the quality of inputs, the way the cotton seed is priced. We don't have a functional textile. We are not handling the whole value chain in the country, so we probably export 99% of what we're producing in this country.
Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Finance and National Planning Minister Dr. Situmbeko Msokotwane has told the World Bank Group Vice President for East and Southern Africa, Victoria Kwakwa, that measures are underway to prepare the country to meet both local and future regional demand for meal without negatively impacting on the livelihoods of citizens. The minister, who was speaking at the sidelines of the 2023 spring meeting of the International Monetary Fund (IMF) and the World Bank Group being held in Washington, D.C., United States of America, says government has heightened its attention to resolving Zambia's mealie challenges triggered by a huge external debt demand from some neighboring countries. Dr. Msokotwane says in order to deal with food supply constraints in the region, his government will implement measures to not only improve the productivity of small-scale farmers, but also attract large-scale capital, technology, and skills. He says this is so that more agro-based jobs are created for the citizens, wealth circulates in communities via outgrower ventures, and that the yawning market is flooded with Zambia-produced food in the near term. The minister has also told the World Bank that his government has observed that some World Bank-sponsored projects for which funds have already been committed are moving too slow, thereby holding resources that could be reassigned to other needy areas of socio-economic development. And Dr. Kwakwa has commended Zambia for removing the import duty on maize because it was an assurance that despite the current challenges, the livelihoods of citizens could be protected through affordable food. You're watching Camnet Television's main news. Join us for more news after this break.
You know I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, my dear. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes, and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Welcome back. We'll continue with our news. Chasefu Town Council Secretary Engineer Kennedy Walia has advised contractors carrying out Constituency Development Fund CDF projects in the district to work hard and deliver according to people's expectations. Engineer Walia has guided contractors to ensure that they carry out their respective projects according to specifications given to them, adding that the council is closely monitoring them. Council Secretary was speaking during a meeting between contractors and the council, which was held at the Chasefu Town Council Civic Center. And Engineer Walia has sternly warned that the council will not entertain a casual approach toward CDF projects by any contractor arising from failure to communicate in the wake of challenges.
Times that as Zambian contractors
are blamed for lack of seriousness. I think one contributing factor may be not us having meetings like this one we've got today. CDF is a very important activity in terms of community projects. The government is looking forward to us implementing, successful implementation. So we are not going to allow laziness from contractors, failure to communicate with us, so that we keep the projects moving and be implemented in good time. As a team, we'll continue going around. Make sure you are doing the right thing, because we are not going to tell you when we are coming.
A Chingola-based businessman, Kebi Chelo, has donated painting products and football jerseys to Demo Primary School and Pemba Queens FC, respectively. Mr. Chelo says the donation is an Easter holiday gift to the people of Pemba District, where he grew up from, and also part of his planned community empowerment initiatives in the district. He says the school and the community in Pemba played a very important role in building his life, hence the decision to embark on a program of paying back in a small way. Speaking during the donation, Demo Primary School Parents and Teachers Association Chairperson, Mr. Godfrey Mukowa, says it is gratifying to see former pupils remembering to support their childhood schools. Mr. Mukowa has called on other well-wishers to continue supporting the school as it requires more building materials. And Pemba District Commissioner Obey Habenzu has called for more support to women in the district in order to keep the youth girls from illicit activities.
We are looking at a time when some of the players for the Copper Queens, our national team, soccer team for girls, who in fact come from southern province, in particular Pemba District. That is our aim. And these girls are capable of reaching those levels.
Mentia vota koti yamba utagiyo mumutwe ruratyani uravota gapati muzezunga wujincha mindset y'abana bahijigoro onye otubajani goti poba yira pabo tumaningi koti abaro barabikira mantu hi ujigoro so bakebijero twabarumba maningi ari mwindirumba nkamu iri WhatsApp y'abantu bari buyagute mba maningi bakebi go murimo mupate ngo mwajita gupagisi jogwano mujime yija rusumpogo amuzumana ne igujitambonyo mugati mujimo egicho mwajita twarumba maningi jaguitorazi gwimina yisi jonse jadem atara gonse o ejija jita ba kebi rusumpogo rwagisi.
We take our second and final break. You're watching Camnet TV and not just another channel. Join us for international and sports news after the break.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. television, not just another channel.
Welcome back. In Kishishe, Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, the M23 rebel group reportedly left the village in early April. Still, inhabitants are haunted by a massacre that was perpetrated between November 21 and 30, 2022, when the armed group controlled the area. Here's a roundup of international news for more.
In Kishishe, Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, the M23 rebel group reportedly left the village in early April. Still, inhabitants are haunted by a massacre that was perpetrated between November 21st and 30th, when the armed group controlled the area last year. The M23 said, "All the men who are in the church, you pretend to be displaced persons, but you are the rebels who shot at us." So they took all the men back to Mzebita's banana plantation. They said, "Sit here and put your feet in the hole. Stand in a circle around the hole." And they started shooting at them. They started killing the others next to them when the first hole had been filled. The M23 used tree trunks, the ones we used to build our houses. They piled up a lot of tree trunks and put them on top of the people they had killed. When they finished putting everything in place, they took gasoline and put it on top and then set it on fire. The UN Joint Human Rights Office reported that the rebels summarily executed at least 171 people in the localities of Bambwa and Kishishe last November. The regional force has since been overseeing the withdrawal of rebel groups in the east of the DRC, but life hasn't returned to normal. Nowadays, children are misbehaving because they no longer attend school, and our community does not have the means to rebuild the schools. It is only with the help of the government that we could rebuild the schools. Besides, it is their schools. DRC's Justice Minister urged last year the International Criminal Court to prioritize crimes committed in the East. The March 23 movement seized large swathes of territory in the region after re-emerging in late 2021.
Huge protest in Ethiopia's AMHARA region. For the fifth consecutive day, these protests have continued against government moves to dissolve a paramilitary force. On Monday, the government imposed restrictions on nightlife and meetings in 3 major cities in the region, including the most populous, Gondar. According to a similar statement issued by the municipal authorities, the restrictions are being imposed by the military command post in each city, implying that security there is now in the hands of the federal army. Last week, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's federal government announced that it had begun the process of reassigning members of the military forces that have been gradually built up over the past 15 years by some regional states to the federal army or the police. The announcement sparked demonstrations with protesters, fearing that the government's decision would leave them exposed to attacks by neighboring regions.
UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres arrived in Mogadishu on Tuesday for a new visit to Somalia. He was greeted on the tarmac by Foreign Minister Abshir Omar Huruse and other Somali officials. According to local reports, the United Nations chief is due to hold talks with political leaders and visit a camp for internally displaced people. He is also set to meet with President Mohamud to discuss the country's security, development and humanitarian issues. Guterres' trip comes with Somalia in the grip of a drought that has driven many to the brink of famine. The United Nations launched a $2.6 billion appeal for humanitarian aid for the Horn of Africa nation, but it is currently only 13% funded. A report by the Somali government and the UN released in March said that drought may have led to 43,000 excess deaths last year. On another front, the government is engaged in a major offensive to defeat Al-Shabaab terrorists.
It's now time for sports news. Now, sports news tonight. The Zambia women's national soccer team have again suffered another huge defeat at the hands of South Korea in an international friendly played at Yongin-Ma Stadium in Seoul. The Copper Queens were beaten by 5-0 in the final international friendly by the hosts. South Korea scored their first goal through a penalty after skipper Barbara Banda fouled the South Korean striker Park Yoon-sun in the box, which the hosts converted with ease to make it 1-0. The Copper Queens failed to account for themselves in the defense, which resulted in the opponents capitalizing and scored the second goal barely 3 minutes after the first one to make the scores 2-0 at half-time. The Copper Queens started the second half with a rejuvenated spirit after a tough talk from coach Bruce Mwape during the break, but that did not help their strikers to find the back of the net. The defensive errors cost the girls as the Korean forwards dribbled the disjointed defense to make it 3-0, leaving the Copper Queens goalminder Catherine Musonda watching in disbelief. Despite the domination by the Korean girls, the Copper Queens continued to show tenacity by attempting to score, but to no avail. Rachel Kundananji fired a screamer shot, but the Korean goalminder Kim Jung-mi stopped it with ease. The porous defense showed that the Copper Queens were missing the services of Lushomo Mwemba and Margaret Belemo. Talismanic striker and skipper Barbara Banda was reduced at times to play defensive midfield as Grace Chanda picked up a yellow card in the 70th minute after clashing with the goalkeeper. Goalkeeper Catherine Musonda's crude tackle earned the Koreans a penalty, which the hosts scored with ease, sending the Zambian goalkeeper in the wrong direction to make it 4-0. Towards the end of the match, coach Mwape made a first change by introducing Susan Banda for Mary Wilombe, the move which did not help matters for the team as the Koreans increased the tally to 5-0 in the dying minutes of the game. That Copper Queens note brings us to the end of our news tonight. About what you eat and drink, keeping festivals and special Sabbath days are a shadow of the things that were to come. The reality, however, is found in Christ. Thank you once again for watching Camnet News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Bye-bye.